programs in this cycle because, like if you see the DVD holders down there or albums, some, some I have at home have 6, and some down here, most of them are 8. So we're gonna do basically 8, but some of them to use up our album cases, for DVDs, we'll just do take a couple out of there and have some in 6 and some in 8. That's the stage that we're in right now. And I would like to congratulate us for being in this stage. Okay, if you don't think we or it or the deserve congratulations, look around you. Look at history. That movie came out. Have most people seen that movie about?
I haven't watched it.
You haven't watched it yet? Okay, it's okay. It's about Mark Clark and Fred Hampton. It's Black Messiah. Yeah, Messiah. Or Judas and the Black Messiah.
I think that's the title. I think that's actually the title.
Yeah. Well, technically now, this may be new for everybody else, but when everybody else is thinking about Judas from the time of Jesus, right? When you mentioned Judas, that's what everybody. But we're using it in our terminology. Remember, we had on one of our flyers, we have Obama. And we have him as a Judas Goat. You remember that? Okay, now I'm sure everyone knows what a Judas Goat is. A Judas Goat is a goat that's trained by the system, the goat keepers. And what the Judas Goat do, when it's time for everybody to go to slaughter, he goes around with his little bell or whatever it is, and he collects all the goats and he bring them into a pen. And there's a trap door down at the end. He goes out of that trap door, and because he's trained, he's too valuable, because when the other goats get big enough, he gonna go trap them too. So what he do is, when they're gonna slaughter the goats, right? They send the Judas Goat out to bring them all into the pen. He got a trap door down at the end. And he goes out of that door. All the rest of them are there for slaughter. That's what they call a Judas Goat. Judas is all kind of deception and technology. But in a way, we're definitely entering a new stage. That's why we've been just cruising along, and we say, well, we won't do nothing today. Because we're definitely in a new stage. I may talk a little bit about it, but I'm going to kind of go over a few things for a minute. So eventually we'll be returning to California very soon. Not very, very soon, but soon. So we've had a lot of experience. I mean, it's a lot of experience. And to tell you the truth, nobody is even close to where we are. They're not even close. When you look around at the other movement, they're not anywhere, they're not even in the arena. They shouldn't be even, part of it is because of what Boss Man did in the old days. Okay, after the people watch about freedom and liberation, and they say, oh, Malcolm X, he got it. Martin Luther King got it, Fred Hampton and Mark Clark got it. And Medgar Evers and them got it. I mean, this is the whole list. You just go down the list. The other people that didn't get it, they spent 40-something years in prison, and but there was no happy endings. Like everybody either joined the system, right? Like some of the people was marching and what have you. They either joined the system. A system joiner is like John Lewis. John Lewis, the poor old guy, okay, they hold him up as an icon. He was with Dr. King. He was against Imam Jamil and Stokely Carmichael and them, he was just against them. Because, see, when he was approached about Imam Jamil, he was in Congress by then. And they're saying what they did to Dr. King and y'all, well, you know who he is. He's the one y'all used to argue with all the time. Y'all was in the same, in fact, they was leading the organization and you left. And why you think they put you in Congress and all that? You think you just accidentally there, or it's because boss man wanted you in the Congress? And just like some of those famous guys, they sent people to marry them, to marry them. The same thing with John Lewis. Cutie Pie from out in San Francisco popped up down there in Dixie. Oh, you're such a dynamic person. He's married to her. She might still be alive. That's not just being, there's a whole list of people like that. One of our favorite imams, he was kind of underground, maybe up in New York somewhere. They sent somebody down from Canada, black nationalist lady. For long, he was married to her. And I think he got the idea, though, a few years ago, because he said when you do certain things, don't give them nothing. Do it with somebody else, Why? He had figured it out. It took him a while. It didn't take me no time, because it's just, that's nice, okay. Just like we're here now, we're here for a reason. And I'd like to think it was because of good conduct, because of good ideas, and trusting in Allah. A whole lot. I mean, big time trust. So I'm going to talk about some of the areas of trust tonight, just for a few minutes. And some of these tactics would be stealth tactics. Technically, after 1973, or even a little before that, all of the tactics were stealth tactics. When I left the United States in 1971, that was after we had established East Oakland Enterprises in Oakland, big businesses all over, young black people driving new cars, buying their own homes. And if you, I didn't bring them, but if you remember some of the pictures, I have a picture with a white suit on, but so bad, with black trim. Of course, that's mink now, don't get me wrong. That's pre-Superfly by years. That bad mink hat and everything, okay. If you looked and you saw a year before, we got the whole black jacket on, stingy brim hat, that Black Panther look. And we had to come to a conclusion. We were like now, that is 1968 going into 69. The picture is 1969 or 70 with the whites, about 1970 with the white stuff on. With the Black Panther look on, it's 2 years ahead of time. And we're looking around at the world we're living in. All the brothers, you can imagine now, by 68, they done burned just about everybody, or got them in prison, or they getting ready to go. So, and then you're there in Oakland, and there's two powerful groups there in Oakland. There's the Black Panther Party, and then there's us. And you may not believe it, because when you read the newspaper, maybe you got to make friends with some old person from Oakland, and you call them and ask them which ones was the most popular in Oakland. Was it the Black Panther Party or was Big Hank's crew? Just ask them. Just ask them. And they'll tell you, okay, when we started off, I'm not going to say that we have been ahead of the game all along, but in some ways, we got off to a good start. And it just so that all the things coming in our direction, we handle them reasonably well. Like when they passed me that thing in 1966, by 1968, I done took a vacation already, or a layoff to look at things, because, stuff happening real quick. And you have to pull back, at least I did. I would credit that, in human terms, I would credit that with being here today. The ability to pull back and say, hold it, let me look at this. It's like things are happening fast. None of our movements did that. They were happening so fast. The dynamics of the time pushed them forward. And they were pretty soon in an environment that they didn't create, and they was not in control of it. The government, like all you see in any movie you see, any book you read about counterintelligence program, COINTEL program, the groups exploded. When they explode that fast, you can see what you're going to get. The government exploded the groups. The government filled them up with people. There's been periods of time when the government filled us up here, but you ain't seeing us get all crazy about it. You just say, well, there you go again. But you don't see when everybody's here and the place is packed, you don't see us, oh boy, we rolling down. Because we know who the people are. Yeah. And just to make sure, they'll build a place around the corner or open it up, and it'll stay open for over 20 years. Then they'll close it down. They close the place is open for over 20 years, a few blocks away. It's served its purpose. No matter what they say, it served its purpose. Right? So they get here, build up everything, build the movement in California, build it all over the country. We got 8 to 10 centers going at the same time, and we are on the way. So they would think that we think we're on the way up. We don't think no such thing. We said, boss man got his thing right. He got his mojo working. So in strategic management, we have to use strategic management under oppression, under the conditions of repression. So that's what we did. We used it. We're still here, and we're at another plateau. I won't mention the other thing, but we're at another plateau. Right now, you might as well say this is 1968 or 60. We're stepping into the future. We're stepping into the future. I mean, we've been building along these lines. But right now, and as before, we're not in no super hurry. We don't have to do nothing today or tomorrow. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to do traveling again. You know, we're going to get out, get a couple of cars, and travel. And we're going to raise, before we go into these courts and everything, we're going to spend part of the middle part of this year and from next month on, from March or April, we're going to spend that part on, and we're going to raise $250,000. We're going to raise $250,000 because that's what we need to feel comfortable doing what we're getting ready to do. That's what we need to feel comfortable doing what we need to do. So we have to expand. We're going to do a lot of traveling because nothing beats personal direct contact. They got all of these new gadgets, push a button and you get a little money. That's fine. It's fine for them. But in our other periods, and we're still going to use those things, that we're going to do what we call prospecting. Just like you go out digging for gold, it's called prospecting, and the guy doing it is a prospector, right? So when we first kicked off, let's say 1980, 81, 82, we did those first few years doing a lot of prospecting, traveling, raising funds, meeting everybody. Okay, we've gotten a little behind. That stuff, we've been doing it, this is good. But now we got to not rejoin, but reacquaint ourselves with the whole Islamic movement in the United States. How you do that? You get one of them old raggedy cars, get it out on the road, drive it till it drops. If it drops, you get either wherever you're at, buy a car, another car, or come back here, just get on a Greyhound bus, come on back here. And what are we going to be doing? We're going to be prospecting, of course. Prospecting is looking for gold, right? Yep. We're going to be looking for gold. That's what prospecting is. And the best way to prospect is just like those old discussions, personal direct contact. Now for us, we could spend most of our time on this media. Other people could use that media all they want, but that's good for them because there's nobody sitting there trying to stop them from doing that, what they're doing. But there's people personally involved, and I don't know how much this shows on whoever, but when we go to the masjid around the United States, and we got our boxes of CDs, of DVDs, we got our boxes of whatever we need. We're traveling and doing our job. That breaks down all the things that they, first of all, is personal direct contact. Now, everybody will tell you, well, that's old-fashioned. It takes too much time. Well, okay, if we've been sitting here for the last, I don't know how many eons of years, and my phone don't ring. Can you imagine? The phone don't ring that much. It used to ring. We used to have a big thing, several of them, we used to write down the numbers. People, that's in the old days. Write down the number. The message thing, you tear it off. It's got a copy under there, and you got a record of who called and everything. Okay, my phone doesn't ring for some reason. But by the time I travel all around the United States, 2 or 3 times, I stop in every masjid. Can you imagine how many they got now? And I have a package. I'm telling our story. I have a short story. People will say, hey, why don't you come to such and such and tell us that tonight? You know, da-da-da-da-da. Within 1 year from today, we'll know where every masjid, you know, there was a time when we knew where almost every masjid in the United States was. Why? Because we was on the road. A lot. Okay? We knew the people and they knew us. That was in the 80s. Do you know, and early 90s it was still, but you know, they spent 25 years. They ain't played our program in 25 years. Only people will remember is the old people. And the people will think that those people that they're seeing now are the real movement people. Because your stuff is not getting out there. It's clearly not getting out there. So, okay, fine. Okay, you keep what you got. We're going out, and that's what we're going to do. Right? In other words, we have, it's technically, I would love for other people to get the experience that I be getting, or even feeling like I feel. You know, I'm sure everybody's feeling good and they fine, but the things that you learn, the challenges that you have to grow up with or outgrow in order to move forward, the sustainability, how to sustain yourself under constant attack. You just grow. And if you go right, you grow without meanness, without hatred, without any of that stuff. Can you imagine you actually grow in a way that you develop the principles of charity and love and compassion and brotherhood? That's the way you look at it. Since you look at it like that way, that's the way everything comes to you, or you translate it into that. In other words, if bad things happen to you, they're classified as bad by the people that's doing it. But they're not bad to you because you're classifying that as good. Thank you very much. And when you classify them as good, guess what they become? They become good. Yeah, they become good. You get the benefit out of it. So you start spending your life where, man, you see beauty and hope and all kind of things where the people that's doing it might be think, why that so-and-so ain't mad? You know what I mean? Why they not hateful? You know what I'm saying? They're going to think that. Man, well, the people he ain't mad. You know what I mean? He ain't hateful. Well, why should you be hateful when Allah given you, don't misunderstand longevity. I can hear it kicked in. Yeah. See, one of the things about the African American movement, it came and they swept it aside. Longevity is very important. You know, being around a long time. How long did our movements last? Just count. Okay. They pop up For a while, every time a movement pop up, government would bat it down. Bam. Leader pop up, they bat them down. Okay? You have to realize that we've been around in front of Boss Man's face for over 50 years on a substantial level. What we was doing in Oakland, East Oakland Enterprises, when everybody in Oakland, Martin Luther King went to Chicago in 1968, well, that's the same time we started on East Oakland Enterprises, 68 and 69. What does that mean? Now, we're a little younger than Martin Luther King. In fact, we're a whole lot younger than Martin Luther King. But we related to everybody, and guess what? They used to call me the mayor of Oakland, and somebody was trying to count up how many people worked for me, and one guy had this number, so many hundred people. I mean, directly working. Like, you got to imagine now, the thing that was different about Oakland was not only that black power rhetoric, but it was everybody was rolling in Oakland. Cadillacs, I mean, you know. Cadillacs, houses, young people in their early 20s, got families, Cadillacs and houses, whatever. That's the Negro era. That's what else you need. Call it petty paradise. It is petty paradise. In fact, we used to call Oakland, when I'd be in LA, I said, well, I'm going on back on up to paradise, because Oakland is a little above LA. And that's the way everybody in California felt about it, Oakland too. Man, that's paradise. Because niggas is having money. They buying the houses. And I'm one of the oldest ones, and I couldn't have been no more than 23, 24. I didn't leave the country till I was 25 or 26. I mean, after that whole stage, Boss Man is mad now, and everybody like me, and they don't like him. So he's mad at that. That's actually the way it was. You know, I'd see police in the courtroom somewhere, and all the pretty sisters, of course, some of them were going to court for like the little things like prostitutes. Hey, how's everything? And then the police are sitting next to me ready to go in and testify against me. And they would be mad. I said, yeah, see, everybody like me. Don't nobody like you. You ain't heard nobody say nothing to you, have they? You know, and they burning up. Who's this nigga? Everybody like him. I mean, this is a thing, too. You got to get it in your mind. They, you know, in those movies, detective movies, anything you see, we're going to get you, big guy, you know, talking about the main. You talking about obsession. They were so obsessed that they was making nothing but legal mistakes. Everything they did, they wanted to put me away so bad, everything they was doing was technically illegal. When I would go to court, it would get thrown out, or because they were salivating at the mouth. Anyway, let me move on. A lot of time, a lot of water have ran under that bridge. But we've had the time, thanks to Allah, to evolve and also neutralize the harmful things that come at you. Neutralize that, but harmonize with the good stuff. That pretty soon, well, I'm not saying it, but you actually, technically, you'll become good. If you do good things, you're going to become good. If all of your solutions is good, if you don't, if they can't make you mad, like the stuff that I got calls, I got calls on my phone all day today, yesterday, is from the crackpot crew in Oakland. Something is wrong with them. If I have my phone with me, you'll see it ringing, and I can show you, there they are, the whole line. And now it used to be no caller ID, but they just lost all control, and now they got their number, a couple of numbers they got, it's just right there. You remember I showed you all them calls? They can't not do it. And every now and then I'll pick it up and then slam it down. You know what I mean? Pick it up and let them get 2 words and then cut that boy off. Okay. I would like for everyone to understand that if you go back 7 or 8 years ago, you could go back further, over 10 years ago, when we started with Mukhtar and Khadijah and them, we put money in accounts so they could do this, that, and other, and we did all those things. And the more we did on their behalf, the madder they got. The madder they got. Just like right now, right? They would tell the court, the court, the judge, all of them, they all in it together. And you would think that all of them in it together, they would make me mad or just upset. Oh, the government just come and said, oh, we like that property, we'll take it. We said, go on, keep it. We'll get it back, and we will get it back. We'll write books about it, which we're already doing. We'll write articles about it, which we're already doing. Well, we're really getting into, we're in a period like similar to the article writing period and giving guidance on that stage that we went through. That was a good stage. Those were good articles on that period. Now, we're in a new period. And this period has no, the last period was out there a little bit, but this period, you don't have nowhere you can go to find out what to do. If this is the Psychozoic age, if you have to pick up a name for it. Psychozoic, it is all in the mind. It's all here and there. Look, the things that they do, like I got busted upside the head. And people said, you all right? They put anything? I said, don't worry about it. You know why I said don't worry about it? Because I'm going to learn what they want from putting that thing in there, and then I'm going to train myself to do what's good for us, and I'm going to conquer that. Why? Because they just people. We people too, we trying to do right. We already done knocked them for 15 or 20 loops. Even, saying right now, because they want certain things. And we have to figure out, well, what did they put up there? Okay, they put a little thing. If you think about certain things, it'll give off a signal, and you know what I mean, on their little thing. I was watching the police, the FBI, when they came here, and they had a thing sitting right up close to my head. It looked like one of those old-time walkie-talkies. It's about this tall and about 4 inches wide or something. And they had it sitting right at my head. Okay, I didn't believe that's what he was doing. He was just doing that to maybe make me feel uncomfortable. I didn't care what he was doing. You know why I didn't care? Because when you trust in Allah, whatever people are trying to do against you, you just study them. It's just like anything else. This is the thing that we learned way back when. And we got a chance to implement it. This is the things that our brothers didn't get a chance to do. They knocked them off right away. Okay, I'm not saying I'm smart or nothing like that, but when I saw them coming, they done already wrote, this is the last time we're going to see that nigga. And you can taste it. Goodbye, white folks. See y'all later. So I left the country. I didn't go like down the street. like the niggas here run down to Alabama. Not they don't even go to Alabama. That's too far. They go right down there to Carolina, right down the street. Some of them just go to Virginia, right there. They go across the state line, right 14th Street Bridge. And then they go down to the little town in Virginia, and don't talk about Carolina. When I first got here, the news every day, Johnny Boy just got arrested in Fayetteville, North or South Carolina, wherever it is down there. And Big Jim, the baby killer, he just got arrested every day. Do you remember that era on the news? I said, it's not even police psychology. Where's the nigga from? Where's his mama from? Right? Okay.
Where did the majority of people migrate from?
When they come here anyway. He's got cousins down there, right? He's got half of his family is down there, still down there, and half of us up here. So they just call the police. We send you some pictures of the nigga up here. He'll be down there in a couple of weeks. They was doing it every day, right? I mean, it was like, good God Almighty. Didn't nobody run off to Algeria? See, they was telling me, well, you just go to Mexico. Mexico is down the street. Well, I'm not going to Mexico. I'll come back there when I get ready. You know, the first time I took a flight from Paris. This is when I'm making a comeback. It was like January the 1st, 1972. So I'm on the plane. Now, I done looked at the map and everything. And so, you know, of course, the earth is round and the map is flat. So I drew a line from Paris, France, to Mexico City. And zoop, there it was. The only thing is the earth is made like a pear instead of like a globe, you know what I mean? So it's smaller. You ever took long flights? They fly over the Arctic and then down to the Caribbean. Because the top of the earth is like a pear, smaller. Yeah, they always draw a picture of it as round, but it ain't round. It's more like kind of fat down at the bottom. They always say kind of like a pear. So every flight that I took, not everyone, but many of the flights that I take from Europe, right here and over there, you fly up over the Arctic and you see all that snow and everything and ice down there, right? And then, so I've been on the run, man. I've been to Africa, and Algeria, which is still in Africa, and I was in Europe. I was in Paris. I was in Copenhagen, you know, because they used to like Negroes in Copenhagen years ago. They don't like them now. But boy, it was, I mean, you know, if Negroes liked white ladies in those days, and they seem to be a little better looking than the American white ladies, I mean. And the Negro, boy, look at here. The Negro was in the army, he'd be in Germany. Germany's right below Denmark. Man, they'd hop on that train, go through Hamburg, and they'd be in Denmark, you know what I mean, in little or no time. And there was more Negroes in Copenhagen than it was in Kansas City. Because they went up there, and just imagine, the white girls in Denmark and Sweden had all the black books, and they knew way more than them. Them guys were soldiers. They ain't do no read. Them white girls, I'd go to their house, they had every book, all the Negro terminology. They liked, you know, Negroes. Of course, they blew it. They sent some Negroes up there, Monkey Man and some other niggas, to mess it up. You know, the people actually liked black people up there in Scandinavia. I'm telling you, you wouldn't believe it. And a Negro go up there and say, what? Yes, da-da-da-da-da. And then they could smoke them bowls of hashish, you know, like you stick little hole in it. Take a bowl, put a little tin foil on it. Da. On this side, you punch some holes, and then on this side, you just put that hashish on that. And so there, this was then, you could stay high all you wanted. Man, the Negro got up there, and he never wanted, they'd come up there from the army, and on a weekend, you couldn't get the Negroes back down to Germany. Because white women didn't like niggas in Germany. They didn't like, prostitutes did, but not good middle class, educated, and they wasn't studying every book. Some of the most money was raised for Angela Davis. Her sister came up there when I was there, and I was staying with some people. We came to see her. She raised more money in Denmark and Sweden than they did all of the United States. Yeah, anyway, so the environment that we were existing in those days was an intellectual environment where people knew that we was oppressed, and they were nice to black people. In a lot of countries, they was just nice to black people. Of course, it ain't gonna last long. Because, no, boss man, if there's a place on earth where they like black people, the white man gonna send as many people as he can, Negroes, over there to mess it up. You see the thing with Pete O'Neill, when I came back to visit them in Tanzania, somewhere around 73, excuse the language, he said, yeah, it was pussy got us put out of Algeria. Eldridge Cleaver was coming back here telling those Arabs didn't like us. No, the Negroes, I'm telling you, some of my friends, they was giving me the game on, man. Now I was the Muslim Nation of Islam type, black nationalist type, just a blend of colored stuff. Anyway, they said, man, these girls over here, the ones with that stuff all on their face, talking about niqab. He said, man, this is one of the Negroes that's here now. If I would have mentioned his name, you would know. Man, and they get to hollering, and cause, maybe, I don't know, the Arabs, they just go at them one or two for maybe a minute or two and produce a baby, and it's all. But the Negro, and they, not only a high yellow, they got what they call good hair. They look like Mediterraneans. In Algeria, that's the Mediterranean. So they all look like Greeks and look like them. Tunisians look like them. You know what I mean? They're like, just look at any picture of Algeria, especially the northern part. So the Negro got over there, and he was breaking all the Islamic laws. And they put him out for that. They said, you can't come over here doing that. That's why they got put out of Algeria. It had nothing, Eldridge was sitting, he was lying. Look, he was lying. My best friend took over the party after him. He used the words, man, pussy got us put out of Algeria. It wasn't they didn't like black people, but you can't come over here doing that. See, even girls that dressed in a Paris way with mini dresses and all of that, you still couldn't do nothing to them. They was just Western looking, but they wasn't Western acting. Hold it. You got to go talk to my daddy about, get your hands off me. What are you talking about? No, that's the way, because see, you would look, you say, yeah, that's tender there. She ain't got all that stuff on. Let's say half of them did and half of them didn't. And the Negro, I will call him the dumbass nigger. He was hitting on the poor, the kneecap wearers. And then they got it amongst themselves. After you knock one of them over, their hair start frizzling up, you know. And so, you know, the word get out, yeah, and eventually it's going to get back to the man, too. Yeah, they gonna say, man, what are y'all doing? Niggas, you gotta go. So anyway, the point is that some of the opportunities we had, we blew a lot of them ourselves. In Africa at that time, we're going through a decolonization period. And whether we were in East Africa, later on we was in mostly East Africa and other places. Because we wanted to go to Black Africa, you know. I did myself. I said, I want to go to So I left Algeria and I went to Tanzania. The other brothers from the party, they came later, a year or two later. But the point is that you have to learn the customs of the country, what the people do. And they chose the word, they brought the Negro, used to be a big street called the Rudy Douche Morade. They used to go down there every day buying hashish and everything. And I come now, I'm ready for revolution. I said, hey man, the only brothers that worked out was me and Sekou Dinga. Because for a while I lived way out on the beach. I'd come pick him up every day. We'd go out there. They had basketball courts, you know, stuff like that. I don't think they had no courts in town because they played football. By the way, I remember when they had that football tournament or something. And everybody, we used to football, American football and baseball. That's when I realized, they said, no, that's the most popular sport in the world. Football, soccer. And it was. It was like, you know the way they have football Mondays or whatever they have here. They don't do nothing when that football is on. That's it. Hold it. This must be a holiday or something. Hey, I want to get my car. You get your car fixed tomorrow, next week, or something, but you can't get it fixed now. I'm watching football. Oh, well, let me get it back. I'm just trying to tell you that life has things that are wonderful and life has things that are challenging. What I have found out is, especially from a Quranic hadith basis and a historical basis, if you do right, or even trying to get close, because Negroes really can't do, I don't say they can't do right. That's not the, I take that back. Even to attempt to do right. And if there's 100 rights, if he do 4 or 5, he's home free. Hey man, that's great. Yeah, it's great, it's only 20%. I mean, but if the Negro do 5 rights out of 100, hey man, he going in what they used to call it in the nation of the Lamb's Book of Life. This nigga, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna try to speed up. No, where are we right now? So I'm gonna just go back to where we are now. We're the transition period. And this transition period that we're in now, we're in total control of it. Boss man is not in control of it. If he run around in circles like he doing something, that's fine. We just go on, boss man, keep on running around like you're doing something. He don't tell us nothing. He can't scare us. He can't do nothing. And you got to remember the categories of right and wrong and correct and incorrect and forecast, correctness of forecast, we batting real high up there. And boss man ain't doing nothing. Boss man is down below, that boy is below zero. Boss man is in bad shape, tell the truth. And even when they try to come back, it's not righteousness, it's just some more lies. Some more lies. Okay. What we have learned during the several phases and stages of life, the more you try to do right, and there'll come periods where you face with a challenge. I remember now, it must have been, it's almost 50 years ago, because this is 50 years ago, around 48 years ago. We had gotten big in the cocaine thing. In fact, we believe that Superfly and those movies, black exploitation movies, was made about us. Because remember, Superfly was a big coke dealer, and by 1971, when it came out, 72, it came out in 72, 73. That's right, because it's playing down there in 73. Superfly was a good guy, and he wanted to quit selling. He had gotten super rich with cocaine, and he wanted to. But the police didn't want him. Remember, his connections was the police, the mayor, and all of those people, right? That stuff is actually true. That stuff is actually true. Okay, so Superfly has it out with the mean old white folks at the time, and he goes over to Europe, and then one African guy that's a big, he needs guns, and Superfly is playing cards with the big rich gun dealers and what have you. But he's in Europe at that time. I didn't go to Europe. Only time I went to Europe, I went to Paris to go straight to Algeria. I wasn't in Europe no more than 3 days. That's all I went straight to Algeria. I wasn't going to run down to Mexico. I wasn't going to go to Canada. That's all too close for me. I went as far as I could get away from America. At least one ocean between me and these boys here. It was 3,000 miles and more. So those were good decisions. Those were very good decisions. That means you get a chance to look at things and get a chance to, if you're now into revolution, and the people you're going to get involved with revolution with, they ain't even thinking about no revolution. Just like person that's head of the party after Eldridge stepped down. He said, man, don't nobody want to go back to America and take over America. They go back to America, they just want to stay. Now, a few did come back to do little mischief. It wasn't mischief. You can't do mischief to Shaitan. How you going to do mischief to but my goal was this. You're going to need guns, and you're going to need bullets and everything, and I offered that platform to the party. They didn't take it, but when the meeting was over, the brothers made a beeline around this way, and they kind of liked the idea. Because by that time, the revolution and everybody was thinking about, they had their families with them. They was getting a little dole from the government. And if you come there, I come there and I gave them a stack of money to help the revolution. My idea is that they took that money and went somewhere else. Yeah, so the purpose that I had, but anyway, I left them there. I went to Black Africa, to Europe, just taking it easy. See, because what most people do when they get under pressure, they stay under pressure. One thing is the Negro don't usually have enough money to take a worldwide vacation, to walk on the beach, to let all of that. Because when you leave the white man been bothering you so much, you be like, Pete took a picture of me, he said, man, you ought to see in your face when you first, because he took pictures, he said, you was all scrunched up and everything. I said, yeah, boss man, but next time I saw him in East Africa, I've been living in South America, all just having a good time. He said, man, you was looking pretty. I said, yeah, so was everybody else. Looking at your pictures when y'all came here, ducking and hiding from old boss man, and boss man scaring you to death and everything. See, I said, boss man did that to all of us. And then when you're learning, what they do to you works in the early stages. It makes you uneasy, paranoid. It makes you, what they do, they can't do it now, but what they did then, this is 50 years ago almost, that stuff worked. I mean, it worked like a charm. It worked on literally everybody. It don't work now. Not on me, but it worked on just about everybody else. That's why you look at any movement, any organization, if the hatred of the white man didn't get them, the cutie pies got them because they know that the Negro couldn't keep nothing in his pants. And he wasn't prepared for revolution. I don't say it's our fault. Here's what happened. You look at the Chinese Revolution, you look at all of them, they had years of preparation. So they got a chance to evolve. Chairman Mao and them started the communists, but 1921 or something. They got their liberation in 1949. But they still grew. They had to grow and go through different changes. When we said Black Power, that was 1966, 67. By 69, the movement here was gone. We lasted 3 solid years of rebellion. That's all. Look at the long, hot summers. 1970, you don't see none. Those years was 65 watch ride, 66, 67, 68, a few 69, 1970, 71, oh no, it was long gone. Okay, so we're thankful to Allah. Remember, we talk about longevity a lot. Longevity is super important. Because if you would have seen us or been around us in 1971, we was like everybody else. Juiced up, mad juiced up though. I ain't taking this from no white folks. You know, that stuff. But that's not going to get you anything revolutionary. You have to have patience. You have to have a long-range vision. We knew if you saw me with that black outfit on in 1968, the next time you see me, I'm wearing the sharpest black and white outfit you can say anybody had in those days. Why? It was the disguise. They're killing all your friends. What do your friends look like? I mean, in those days, those guys that was getting killed were technically my friends. You know what I mean? So I said, I ain't going out like that. So we gave the white man exactly what he wanted, a picture of a cool breeze Negro. The way he ain't thinking about nothing but being sharp, buying Cadillacs. I must have bought I don't know how many Cadillacs. That's all he's thinking about. When they realized the game that was run on them, they said, we getting rid of that nigga there. That nigga is more dangerous than them other niggas because he's thinking. And he's not they come to pick up, I ain't gonna say who it was, a nice looking young lady to pick up the leader of one of the parties. At the house, the Negroes spent an hour chasing the lady around the house. When she opened the door, there he was, butt naked. He's supposed to go to the conference down at whatever park it was and talk to the people. Yeah, baby. He opens the door and she's on a roll, you know, the way the Negroes was in those days. They would call it almost, it'd be like rape because, you know, everybody did it, you know. And you didn't know whether the girls, if she said no, you said, everybody said no. What you talking about? No. And pretty soon, so you got to find out if she really, really meant no. And by the time you find that out, you done already finished doing whatever you was going to do. That was the culture of those days. That's what people did. No, what do you know? And that's the way that Negro was. Chased the lady around the house for 45 minutes or so. And that was that's what brought the party down. That's what brought the party down. It brought them down inside of the United States. It brought them down over there. Because when they wanted to get you, they slide a girl up there, just like James Bond, slide a nice looking lady up there. The color don't make no difference. It's black. Oh, you want a Berkeley white girl? You're going to get more mileage with little cracker girl. So, you know, that's what they did. They used it. It wasn't even fair because the Negro did not have time for self-development. They just come in and slammed him down, body slammed him in about a week or so. It was sad because he didn't have time to develop. And he didn't even have no teaching to develop. The revolutionary structure didn't exist. It was the 10-point program and all that other stuff. Half the people didn't even know the program. The thing grew so fast that, hey man, it grew so fast. Can you imagine all over America and the world? The party just threw a seed out the window and they start sprouting up everywhere. You couldn't control it. You couldn't control it. And that was the downfall. Okay. The downfall of the party. Super quick growth and no self-control. No self-control. Okay. So now you look at us, we don't have those negative points. Number one, the beautiful thing about Islam, true Islam, it prevents you from being that type of damn fool. You know. When I came here from Oakland, I'd been celibate for, running the hills, lifting iron for probably 14, 15 years when I left. So that means you could put all that time and all that energy on building the movement. And you just didn't have time or didn't, okay. That's rare. That's rare. People used to watch me so much, they watched me more than the police was watching me because they said, I know ain't no nigga gonna do all that time. You know what I mean? Not knock nobody over. And then the police is sending, if I'm in a car talking to another African American, just say, who's a snitch, of course, and we talking about black women, and you say just so, man, I like them girls with the more hair on their legs, the better. Because white folks don't like women with hair on. I don't know what's wrong with them, but they have them cutting all the hair off their legs. I think the Negro in those days was different. As soon as I said that, I come to the masjid the next day, and a girl opened the door with long black hair and the hairiest legs. Well, I knew it was a setup. That's why, because I just said it. It was just too obvious, but it was a good setup. I mean, I didn't go for it, but the Negro would. The Negro, and I don't want to talk about the Negro like a shoe or something like that, but they didn't give us a chance. And I'm not saying it's unfair, because they got their system and they got their stuff that they doing, and they not here to give you no liberation and freedom. They here to keep power and to have you picking their cotton or whatever you want to do, but you ain't gonna, you know what I mean? Okay. We didn't have an opportunity to evolve. And that was on everything. The people in Algeria, they was living a Negro life in Algeria. And the people, they still had their Muslim customs. They were, you go in any business around noontime, the guy got his little prayer mat there, and he, you'd see him all the time. In Algeria in those days, they wasn't flooding the masjid because the government was not anti-Islam, but it was FLN, a nationalist, Arab-centered government type, which means they were anti-Islam. They used the Muslims, mujahids and all that, when they was fighting France. Yeah, they used the Muslims. In fact, their paper was called Mujahid, in Algeria. But as soon as they won their independence, they retired all the Muslim generals. They retired them right away. And the only people they had with military power was the nationalist Arabs. Anyway, dear believers, to get through all of this stuff, time is a blessing. Because there's so many things going on, you don't have time to acquire the knowledge of it, and you don't have time to develop the discipline, or even to care about discipline. You know what I mean? Okay, now that's where we're different. We have an ideology. We have all of those things that go along with a high standard of morals. The government just started believing that a Negro can actually do that stuff. J. Edgar Hoover J. Edgar Hoover said it would be hard for the American Negro to practice true Islam as it would be to put pants on an elephant. That's what J. Edgar felt about. And, not saying he was right, but in those days he was right. He was right. And if you put too much pressure on a good Muslim, make him all these offers, you know what I mean, and all these beautiful things, you can just about break down the morality of a good 80% of them. Well, that's what people think, I don't know. But that's what the movement, even here in the U.S., I don't mean to ramble, but it would be, if they wanted to start a problem for any masjid, they just sent in 4 or 5 cutie pies. And the imam would get all the high yellow ones, and he might leave 1 or 2. If it's 3 or 4, he might just have 4. The Negroes here. In those days, they'd stay in the masjid doing martial arts and all that, and had 2, 3, 4 wives on welfare. Remember, in those days, they did welfare to keep you quiet. So the Negroes, I'm talking about some of the old guys you've seen, the masjid was a place for hanging out, martial arts, and stuff like that. And You could have technically 4 wives. So, and everybody was trying to get me married with and one of the imams. Y'all seen him over there, up there in Brooklyn, talking about. He'd be sitting here, we'd be at a class in Indiana somewhere, and he just said, "Yes, I have 4 wives." And then he'd go on about his business, and he'd might, "Yes, I have 4 wives." Them girls was running that boy crazy. 4 Negro ladies. Well, one was a Puerto Rican. You could tell by the kids, you know. Hey, and I was looking, I was unmarried. I said, "Shoot, boy." And the poor people in Oakland was always trying to, and I was looking at their lives, and they was going crazy, and they would stay. We'd have family night, and I said, "Well, it's about that time." And they would be staying there because they thought I was there lonely. So I just hit the lights and said, "Y'all got to go." Lonely. And they going back arguing with their wives and all that stuff. And I said, "Shoot, you see that pallet over there? That's where I sleep. And you know how long it takes me to go to sleep? Sometimes it takes a long time. A minute? Sometimes it takes me a minute and a half to go to sleep." And they up all night worrying about everything. Anyway, let me try to arrange this where we will get some of the benefits out of what we've been doing. About the story that we're going to tell, we have to tell it before it's too late, because like a lot of the people around are getting a little older, and it's not but a few of them left. So we're going to be bringing out this stuff.
It seems like nobody is eager to tell it.
Not only that, they telling the story that, okay, everybody likes the movie Judas Goat and the Messiah, whatever it is. But everybody knows that. That's just old. Remember we said they're always trying to take us backwards? They're trying to take everybody back there. But now, remember now, we are not only ahead of them, we're ahead of the people too. All the stuff we were writing about years ago, strategic management under conditions of repression, all that stuff now is technically old. It's good, it's usable. But where we are now, we're into the, what do we call it? The Psychozoic age. We're in a whole, you don't have no direction on what to do during this period hardly, except the Quran and the Sunnah and history and all that. We have that. But I'm talking about the specific things to do. We got to hook that up ourselves. That's what we're doing right now. We have to do it. But just like the old-time revolutionaries, they had time to prepare. We have too. In fact, we've been in charge of our own evolution. Yeah, we speed ourselves up, slow us down. We've been doing what we feel is good for us at that time, according to where we want to go. Okay. Tell our story. Look at the story they tell. Well, you figure that out. Okay. I'm going to pass up on some of those lawyers that we had doing those days. We will stick with this thing for sure. 95% of ability is stickability. 95% of ability is ability to hold on. That's just the way it is. To be able to last. We're not living a life to where we just want to live a long time. Longevity is not what we're working on, but longevity is necessary for a movement to acquire the history and the knowledge of how to infuse revolution into the people. Okay. Some of the things that we have done and what we're doing around here. We consider Oakland here and all of this stuff, the physical material is base areas. We don't let the system get us froze on holding on to a base area. Like if you're a revolutionary organization, you know, you got base area number 1, base area number 2, right? If it's too much heat on base area number 1, you abandon it. If it's too much heat on the movement, you consolidate what you have and you ease into, you not demobilize, but you put yourself in a condition where you're under less exposure. And you cruise. Remember, the revolution is not over until everybody's dead. That's the way it is. These are the rules. A lot of people, maybe they're not there yet, but we're there. We're not there. Luckily, we're there happily. And guess what? We've been here a long, long time. A long time. Longevity has its place, as Dr. King said. So if it becomes necessary, why don't we have to? Oakland is our base area number 1. That's where we started everything. So they thought we'll attack Oakland, we'll do this. They've sold one of our properties worth at least $1 million or something. We'll get it back when we get ready. If they don't give it back without too much of tussle, we'll get it in writing about it. Because we already had the paperwork. Mukhtar's name on that he sold the property. He don't have no right to sell the property. He did all that stuff. That's what the police wanted us to do. To spend all of our last few years, that's what they wanted us to do. To spend our time focused on them. Or focused on the property. We ain't doing nothing like that. You could see, technically, if you go and look, you would see that this place is technically falling down. I mean, it hasn't failed yet. And we could cruise like this for another 20 years like this if we wanted. But you go here, you go there, they think, oh, rent, well, they got to get this rent and they got to get that rent. No, we don't have to get that rent. We don't have to get. They don't control nothing. They don't run nothing. We do what we want to do when we want. These are base areas. Oakland, we could abandon that till we get ready to get it. Suppose we just get there and we're going to fight for Oakland. What about the rest of the world? Right? They get your attention focused on them. They got all these people, all of that wealth, all of that everything, and they're going to make you use up your little resources on them. Insanity. Pure insanity. That's why we go to Oakland when we want to. And before we go to Oakland, we got to pay all kind of stuff out there. But we'll pay it when we get ready. And we'll get it all back when we get ready. And if we don't get it back, we're going to charge them for it. We're going to charge them for it. Yeah, we're going to charge them for it. That's all. Because we have learned certain lessons that are so valuable, it's unbelievable. And not only that, we're comfortable with it. Comfortable. I'm sorry. You can do what you want. Not you. I mean, they can do what they want. practice long-range struggle, psychological guerrilla warfare, protected, focused to hold on with your hind teeth, you know, the hadith. Whatever it is, you can hold on to goodness, righteousness with your hind teeth. You know, in other words, doing good in this period would be like holding a hot coal in your hand. You know, that's the period we're living through. You got to imagine, is the people, are we upset and going crazy, or is boss man going crazy? Just think about it. I tend to think he's going crazy. He don't tell us what to do, and he can't make us do nothing. And we know that the less we do that he wants us to do, the more upset and crazier he's acting. Now you got to realize something. There comes a time in history when, remember we always talked about discombobulate the system, throw this. You don't know how much credit we get for discombobulating the system. No, you got to remember that Allah give you extra stuff. You know what I mean? He makes, Allah enhances things. And Allah can morph you up and you look like you 100 feet tall. You know, the way they morph up, I guess, the Power Rangers and stuff. Yeah, they morph up. They be just little guys running around, and all of a sudden he blew him up. Don't the white man treat us like that, like we're a big, giant, everything? They do. That's the way they see us. They've always seen it like that because they can remember they never get over the first go round, you know, and they say, man, if that catches on fire, it ain't no telling what might happen. And they surround you with people, then they pull them back. We said, keep them. Nobody need them niggas. I like them. I welcome, but ain't nobody gonna run, right? You must be crazy. That's the difference about knowledge. And we used to have a saying, it was a period of growth when you would get to the period where you say, yeah, I know what I know for that period. When you know what you know, that's a period of game or knowledge. And you know it. And that's wonderful. Okay, let me speed up. We talked about East Oakland Enterprises, but that's important. You don't hear nobody else talk about it outside of Oakland. They talk about the Black Panther Party like that was Oakland. It just wasn't. Okay. There's been a strategic period. I'm just going to breeze through this period. When I got from overseas, and I think I left overseas, in fact, it was so-called making a comeback. It was January the 1st when I left Copenhagen and went to Paris, January the 1st, 1972. Then I went to Mexico, but then I went to Peru, then I went to Bolivia, then the government agents down there told me, go to Colombia. I know they was government agents. They was white boys. They just go to Colombia. I got friends up there, and they gave me the. So he was piping me into Colombia. Was Colombia today? When you hear about Colombia, all you think about is cocaine. But in the old days, it was Peru, number one. Peru and Bolivia. The cheapest cocaine you could get in those days was in Bolivia, because that's where the people ride on them buses and they chew them cocoa leaves, the Indians, and they be there. They just, it gives them energy and stuff like that. And then they take a little not gravel, but a little rocky stuff, limestone, when they chew the cocoa, and it releases the, whatever it is, that alkaloid. And they don't be like when we snort cocaine and get high, but they just be, when you see them on the back of them big trucks, they be just back there. Hey man, they be put in space. But anyway, just a passing thing, I went to the market when I was in Peru, or Bolivia, one of the. So I took what's equivalent to a nickel, and I bought a shopping bag full of cocoa leaves, because you could go buy the cocoa leaves in the market, like, cucumbers and all that. So I was chewing the cocoa leaf. And that wasn't our thing, the Negro. I said, man, I shoot her. So I told the people, if you could get me something that's a little more powdery, I'd be fine. Because just to sit there chewing them, and then your mouth, to me, I wasn't getting high. My mouth was just getting numb. And I mean, my lips was all puffed up. But anyway, so the people that put me in the position down there was the United States government. Go to Colombia. That's the new spot. And I went up there, and that's where it was happening. In Colombia. It was just happening, and it's right close to the Panama Canal, and you got two coastlines. You can go up the Pacific coast, Costinos, or you could go up through the Caribbean, and you got two coastlines. That's why they chose that. See, they chose that because they're looking at their map of the world. Peru, one coastline. Bolivia, no coastline. Right? So you got to almost walk it out or carry it out or something. But you can go through the Panama Canal and get off at Cartagena and buy some stuff and get back on the boat and go on through the Panama Canal. And then before you get back to the United States, you stop off in Puerto Rico, which is what? The United States. And they didn't think the nigga had enough sense to put people on a boat in L.A. and they go down to Puerto Vallarta. They go through the Panama, Zitmar Cruises was it? And they go through the Panama Canal. Oh, and old white folks, they get off and they buy all kind of junk. And they get back on the boat with big packages of cocaine. And then they come back through the Caribbean and they get off the boat in Puerto Rico, United States. See, they don't think niggas got no sense. And they, especially in those days, the old white folks, you give them $4,000 or $5,000 and a vacation ticket, and they take you just as much cocaine as you can. Who's gonna stop? You're gonna mess with a 70-year-old and a 68-year-old white man and his wife, a 68-year-old white woman, and they're on a vacation? Who would ever even think of that in those days? It's not now. Who would even think of it? And they just drop it off in Puerto Rico. And you can put it in a suitcase. You could throw it over your shoulder in those days and get on a plane or whatever and come to the United States. just a free ride. It just costs you a few dollars. Anyway, that's what we used to do. But by 1973, all of that studying of revolution and da-da-da-da-da, we came to a conclusion that you can't do that, although cocaine is different than heroin and all that, because heroin kill everybody. Cocaine just get everybody busy, and everybody, the singers, Aretha Franklin, everybody just liked cocaine. And the presidents, and then later on, Jimmy Carter, you should have saw, they had a picture of the White House with wings on it, high as a kite. See, that was a time in the 70s and the early 80s when cocaine, this is before crack, everybody was snorting cocaine. Let me see. Everybody means everybody. So maybe 2-3 people didn't, but that's about it. All them people was snorting cocaine. Everybody was snorting cocaine. Because cocaine is not harmful. And when you start getting broke, you just leave it alone for a while and start getting your money back together. Then you get happy and do it again. And then you go broke again. But it don't tear you down like crack and good God Almighty. I'll tell you the story about, I went down back in 77, because I used to have money 78, something like that, 77, 78. I had, I would hide money in different places, so I went back down there to get some money. And I went to my friends, I caught up with some of my old connections and friends. And they had them pits in their face. They was looking crazy. I said, man, I'm getting out of here. What's happening with y'all, man? It said Basirola. That's what they was calling. See, you get the cocoa leaf, they squash all the stuff out of it. Then you get pasta, paste. And then you take the pasta and you take it to another stage and you get cocaine hydrochloride. Now, Richard Pryor and all of them, they was taking good cocaine and they was taking it back to a base by taking, in that time they was using ether and water, and you'd put it in a vial and it would fizz. And then you take an eyedropper, everything above an oily line that would go right in there. You drop that out. Had that ether on it. It would dry fast. Now the Negro, Richard Pryor and them couldn't wait, so they'd have a hair dryer. And it'd dry right away. And we used to use that to test cocaine, because if you take 1 gram, 10 tenths, and you send it through that process, everything above the oily line, if 10 tenths of a gram come back, you got 100% cocaine. If you got 7.5 grams, which is good quality, 8 points, you got 80% cocaine, that's good, that's fine. It might as well be, So that test that we used to use to see how good the cocaine was, when I went to prison here and then I got out, all of my friends in Oakland, they used to be big Negroes. They used to live in the hills and everything, and they was getting broke. All the entertainers in LA, see, freebase, what y'all call crack now, which it came out in the middle 70s, not the mid 90s like all other. See, Richard Pryor got burned up twice, I think. He get burned up twice. Richard Pryor, poor Richard. See, here's what happened. I'll stop this talking in a minute. But anyway, since they used ether and they used all of that stuff, it would catch on fire. That's why Richard Pryor got burned up twice, I think. Because, he couldn't wait. He got matches around all of them chemicals that would catch on fire and it burned him up. You could tell in Oakland, because see, freebase hit Oakland before it hit LA. The first place in the United States was the San Francisco Bay Area. Okay, so I went to prison. When I got out of prison, all my friends was telling me, man, you got to do this, try this freebase. I said, well, I'm a Muslim now, so I don't mess around. But I watched them. And if a guy had $5,000, he was going to smoke up $5,000 in that pipe. Yes, he was. That's how deadly it was. I said, man, we used to do that to test it and then throw it away. And y'all are smoking it? I said, man. So when I went back to South America and I saw my friends that was rich down there, and if you spent $20,000 or some more on a kilo of cocaine, they spent $3,000, down there. And if base, they finally started smoking it down there when it was base before they took it to cocaine and then took it back to base. It's a long story. Anyway, they had them little dope fiend looking pits in their face. I said, what's happening? They said, Baserola. That's what they called it down there in those days. Baserola, base. I said, man. I said, the niggas up there living in the hills, I said, they're going to be down on the flat ground in another 2 weeks. Because if y'all is broke down here and you at the source, imagine the niggas up there. You paying $2,000 a kilo here and smoking it all. I said, good God Almighty, and I'm a health freak too. I said, man, I'm getting away from y'all because I don't want y'all blowing your breath all on me, blowing all that or whatever it is. I don't want it. Oh, man, no. I said, oh, no, I'm going. So I said, oh, no. The brother is a Muslim. You know what a Muslim is? I said, not only that, because I used to snort a little blow. Not a little, I was there, it was free almost. $100 an ounce, something like that. Or pure cocaine, whatever. Anyway, $25 bag of marijuana would be a big shopping bag full of weed. Stuff like that. Anyway, this opportunity to live that lifestyle and to live this lifestyle of Islam, it ain't nothing can touch Islam. Anybody that think that life is equal to or better than this one, they're a figment of their imagination. A figment of their imagination. Okay, excuse me for going around and what have you. Think of the near future. No, this is just for me. I have accepted being alone, and if people want to help, it's up to them. But I've accepted that this stuff is not. It's nice, but the white man don't make it look fun. This is what it don't. Your family, your friends. I treat family good. But if they take the wrong side, you can use that as a benefit. If they messed with my sons out there and call themselves ruining their life, it's because my sons didn't stick to this, and I don't blame them for none of it. None of it, because the boss man put too much pressure on you, you're gone. So, but they're happy as they can be running around. The happy dope fiends, they're doing fine. And they're not little babies anymore. They're 55. Shoot. My oldest son is 55, 56 years old or something, and my youngest son is 50-something, 50, 68. How many years is that? 53 years? He's 53 years old. Okay. And then boss man and gave them a deal so they can use all the dope that they want, and and stuff like that. They got it going on. It worked out, fine. And my daughters, that's fine. Their mamas are first class police, not first class, dumb police. This girl is pretending when she goes around here and y'all think she look like she got sense. That ain't true. And they can see it all on here. Sister by here haven't got no sense. That's just the way it is. She don't have no sense. I mean, the white folks' sense or nothing, But I'm dedicated to help them. And my daughters, remember the S&Fs over there, Sakina and Fatima's? Okay, you could remember after Juma, they used to, Sakina would stand down there and collect money, then Fatima would, okay? And all of a sudden, they wouldn't do it anymore. You can see the stuff down there in the room. There's all CDs and all that. I would just think how good this is. I'm gonna pack the table with all this stuff. You just gotta stand there and take the money. So they get a little feel of, but they don't have to move it, That's a pretty good job. That's pretty good daddy too, and you're gonna make $80, $90, $100 and some dollars, and you don't have to pay for it. I'm gonna go, just to get them used to selling, because if they get stuck in that, with an education and all they knew is what the white folks taught them, you want to see a nigga last a while, you put him in business. If he got, look, you're gonna have some sense. Tell the truth. If you go into business, you got to have sense. You can't just be in there just, yeah. You'll be broke. So anyway, that's a relief, because if people put them in the boss man schools, and then the supervisor, Sister Bahia, they can't do anything to them. So I'm home free. Home free. No problem, right? They'll get the idea, they'll get on the right team in time, but not now. Huh?
Everybody seems to be talking about school is no good and it's not benefiting you.
Of course.
COVID-19 exposed that. That the public education system, the state ran daycare. COVID-19, it's obvious now. Everybody knows that. That's out of that.
That's why we've been saying for years, all we have to do is do what Allah show us to do. Just read the Quran, all the guidance is in there, because they gonna do what Pharaoh did, and they can't do anything else. Why? Because belief is belief, and non-belief is non-belief. So anyway, let me speed up a little. Remember them tapes on Motiversity? What was that? Motiversity? Yeah. That stuff has nothing to do with where we are going now, because we're in a different, Yeah, because see, people get the principles are fine, but they're stuck on that stuff. That stuff is not what you need for this period. Okay, human engineering, personal direct contact, prospecting. Prospecting, like what we do, we're going out and visit everybody. They spend all their time trying to isolate us. They spend all the time. I used to get a disease of the month, something, and then I'm walking around. So when it tried to hit me like, say a month ago, I said, oh no, I ain't going for it. And I didn't. I hurt for about a day or so, and lips is numb, and one side of the body. I said, I'm not doing it. And it goes away. But boss, if I would have went for it, boss man, he always doing something like that. You know, knees and back, anything. And see, once you start getting old, you can't tell whether it's real or whether boss man doing it. So I said, no, this is boss man. This is boss man doing that, and I ain't messing around. Yeah, kiss my body parts. You know what that means. Okay, human engineering. Harmonizing with objections. If people see, like a lot of things that we're trying to do, people object to it because they don't see a good benefit from it. You know, they say, why do that when you're going to get the whole system against you? Well, the only reason we're doing this is because the Quran says that boss man is a bad guy, and they look over in the fire, and they say, oh, ain't nobody going to want to go down there. Then they say, well, look what's around that. Then they say, I don't think they're going to miss that boy. They say, well, maybe you just want to do good? So you want to do good, huh? Well, then they look and say, man, that's paradise? Everybody gonna want to go there, right? That's what the hadith say. Everybody, man, I'm getting packed up to go to paradise. Then they say, just a second, look what's surrounding paradise. Then the hadith say, I don't think nobody gonna make it because everything is there, right? Now, imagine us. That's what we're doing. We're taking the paradise road. And when anybody look, I wouldn't want the white man doing that to me. I wouldn't want them doing that. But that's how you're going to get to heaven. They wouldn't want none of this. That's too bad for them. You know. Okay. Let's see if there's anything. Human engineering, we talked about that. Psychozoic stage. Space age, space race thinking. Ability to outgrow what? Anything or any challenge, any obstacle that's put in front of you. Okay. I'm going to just leave it there. Are there any questions, any comments? But we're easing into another stage, and this is a stage of growth, development, writing, rewriting. And this is a stage, if people can get that stage, they'd be on the road. So that's our job for this period. It seems like. Are there any questions, any comments?
Brother had commented saying, like the brother is saying, any successful revolution, there must be focus and to have a revolution within our minds. What is, okay, now it kind of gets a little bit hard for me to read, but I'll try to read it. What is a revolution, or I guess maybe he's trying to say, why have a revolution but have the same mindset of the oppressors? I guess he's asking a question. Don't you agree in revolution there must be a house cleaning, but there is a boss man willing to try to stop that revolution?
Of course, that's what maybe people not paying attention to what we've been doing. We have taken no non-revolutionary, our struggle, if you look at the main thing is kindness. Kindness. Optimism, what was the other one? Kindness, optimism. Humor, yeah. That's from 12, 15 years ago. We're past that now. Or you don't go past that, you just incorporate it. We've used that at all costs. Physically, we've been attacked by people we've been attacked technically by everybody, and we've been deserted by literally, real good desertion. But we expected it, we know it was coming, and it don't bother us. I'm just telling you. We haven't, in revolution, there's evolution too. Revolution, evolution, they go together. That means you have to evolve right along with the revolution you're going to make, because if you don't, you'll take yourself out of the game. So if you don't overcome the love of wealth, you can't give it away, because you want it all for yourself, right? You want it all for yourself. Or maybe you give a little to a couple of friends here and there, but if you down with that wealth, if you're down with girls, you want every girl that you see. Whoever it is, I like that child. And then that's the way it is. So there's evolution in revolution, but there's also revolution in evolution. What I mean is, revolution is a sudden change and transformation. Evolution means you evolve very slowly. It's evolution. You move in. Evolution will get to a revolution, but it ain't going to get there at breakneck speed. You will evolve stage for stage. What we have been doing here is just like the talk today. We've been evolving over decades and decades. The proof of evolution is we're not in no hurry. A revolution, you be wanting to get it over with. Revolution, you want to do people harm sometime. We don't want to do nobody no harm. We're not going to do anybody unless we're just under some threat. But all the principles, if we hadn't mastered what we talk about, we wouldn't be here. Because people do stuff to you, or they take money, or they steal property, or they do that stuff, right? If you respond the wrong way, right, they're going to blame all of it on you, and guess what? Everybody with them is the police. They're going to say, yeah, you're a bad guy. That's what they say in Oakland. Just because you give somebody thousands of dollars, pay bill, thousands and thousands. Remember the old paperwork? We went out there and paid $50,000 in taxes. Okay, they didn't boost them taxes back up. We don't have to go out there and pay that much again, just right there in Oakland. Mukhtar ain't paid no taxes. But if I go to the masjid, right? So we're going to make them pay for, that's why we're going to charge them $100 million. They've been bad, so they owe us. Yeah, in Germany, if you run over a tree, they charge you for that tree you run over and also all the trees that might have came from that tree. So they had it bad on the Americans. You know how stupid they are. They run over them tanks, they run over a tree, they out doing, and they run over this. They just charge them. Okay, boss man, that'll be a zillion Deutschmarks. Yeah, they'd have to pay it. Okay. So, with us, they look at us and they would like us to get involved in tearing down things, running over things, destroying things, right? And we don't do that. They do that. You see what I mean? They do that. That's why I don't want to put it like this, but that's one of the reasons that in the United States, we might be the only active Muslims that are pointed in a healthy direction. There's plenty of other Muslims around here. Which way are they headed? They headed in a different direction. I'm not going to call it wrong direction, but so evolution, that's what we're doing. We're evolving step by step. And that's why we're not in a hurry, but we're outrunning everybody else. And everybody else got on gym shorts and tennis shoes. We got 100-pound sacks on our back, big lead boots, sweat gear, and we outrunning everybody else. Something's going on. And they're tired and we're not. And the other thing is, can you imagine, with all the stuff that happened to us, and pay attention to it, we're happy and ain't none of them happy. Something's going on. They can say what they want. I think we might have a corner of the right road, just what it seems like. Any more questions there?
No, just a lot of people, my phone was really busy yesterday because people were sending you happy birthday
Yeah, happy birthday. Yeah, I'm glad.
on Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, 76. Yeah, 76.
You happen to catch two things. The information on Al-Hajj.
On the 21st,
Well, yeah, some information came out about the NYPD police officer wrote like a deathbed confession.
or the day that they was choking him.
They ain't say that. He said that, he was involved in arresting Malcolm's security guards.
Mhm.
And, he basically was saying he felt bad about what he did to his people. And he was under pressure from the NYPD and the FBI to do what he did. So he wrote this confession, he wrote this letter. They have a copy of it, they presented a copy of the letter.
Very good.
So that was that. So I just wanted to know.
No, I've been aware of one of the New York policemen was the one that had a snagger-tooth, I think. Curly-headed snagger-tooth. And this is 30 years ago though, and he was telling his part. But just try to remember like this. What was the tattletale that killed Fred Hampton? O'Neill. He committed suicide too.
Well, this guy didn't commit suicide.
He just died. He died, and then he wrote Well, see, the thing about Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz is whatever they say, everybody has already pretty much but Allah's in charge of the whole universe. Allah knows every leaf that falls from the tree. And sometime when something don't happen, Allah ripens everything too. The people in the movement. And if the people are not ready, Allah won't let it happen. You know, even whether it's king, all them people, the people, everybody acting like how much they love King. When King started talking out of the side of his mouth, they jumped up and, oh, this man went crazy. And you're talking about boss man? Boss man is a good white man. He give us everything we want. He just gave us the freedom, the right to vote, and the right to vote too, right, old Johnson? And you gonna get us, man. You gonna mess up. They was all of them. That's why King said, if it's gonna be if I have to do nonviolence all by myself, you remember him saying? That's what he said. That's what he said. Okay. I like the period that we're living in because I think some kind of way we've been made for this period. You know, I'm very confident about this period. I think we're going all the way on this one or close to all. You know, you'll know where you're headed by the time your end comes or my end comes or that end comes. You'll be able to see. This is what I feel this time. That's what I feel about this time. So, alhamdulillah. Is there anything else?
No, that's it. I had a couple people did reach out to talk to you questions. I just forwarded your phone number. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They had Imam Jamil's son on the radio.
Is that right?
He had put out some information, basically talking about how they're trying to get Imam Jamil back to Georgia because
He's not doing too well.
he basically said he's blind.
Yeah.
So it may be that he can have like if he has some cataract surgery, it may help him, but, whatever's going on in Arizona, they're not letting him communicate, with lawyers, so they really trying to campaign now to get him.
Well, you could see why the government came down on us very, very, very heavy. Because technically, they're the only ones talking about the other people. They wouldn't have them. If I remember one guy, I'm not going to say who he was, but he was going to give Ed Brown a check for $250 or something. And he had, maybe I think blew up, where they had them big checks. I said, man, that's cold-blooded. And Imam Jamil, that's why his son has to do this, because everybody else, if I were to mention people that got married and they were from Canada, stuff like that, you can now see who we're talking about. It's to be expected. Ain't no sense, you don't turn flips, when that's what happened, because that's what happened. You can watch 007, who they want to catch somebody with, a girl, 92% of the time, right? A nice looking lady. And the hadith say that too. So, the last I'd heard, that's when he said he could see, but it's like looking through the bottom of a Coke bottle. He could still see light and everything, but he couldn't put shapes together. I feel if we can move right, we can not only help get him an operation, but help get him out of the penitentiary. Because if we get the kind of money we're going for, we'll be able to pull it off. You got to remember, all the money that was given to those Negroes, what happened to it? You know, he had non-paid attorneys. Since it's a capital offense, they gave him 2 attorneys. Where did all the money go? Now, I knew I took maybe some hundreds of thousands down there. I used to see the fat black man. He was down there all the time. Always wanted to know the amounts and stuff. So, boy, this is cold. But remember, sometimes, like you say, from our understanding, we were the only ones trying to help Imam Jamil, with nobody else trying to. And the people that gave bayah to him, that was unfair. If you give bayah to somebody, and the people are messing with you, or messing with your leader, then they're supposed to be messing with, you know what I mean? And they say, well, if he do that, if he do this, we're not going to be with that because it'll use up our money. You know what? Those brothers were absolutely wrong. If I could have went around the United States and raised $200,000-$300,000, what could all of them have done? I mean, we don't say if that, but I'm saying, I went to places, and sometime when I go back down there, I would take a nice chunk of money. It may be 20,000 now, 40,000 here, and I just give them to them, and I would leave because I didn't want to get involved. That probably was not correct on my part, but I wouldn't be able to raise funds and watchdog them Negroes because they were evident where they was coming from. You could see it. Yeah, it wasn't nice. And his son was too young. His son was too young, and who else might have been involved, if he's a son and somebody else, it would work on the person's heart, so you just stuck. You know, you just can't say, there she go. You know, just can't do that. Yep. But now we see, that's why we're asking for, what did I say, $100 million. You know how much trouble and how much money they've cost us? They didn't run through millions. All the stuff they've been doing, you know, they didn't really, it's not small change. In 40 years, it's not small change. They've been bumping at us all along, all the time. It's not if you say 50,000 over here or 20,000 here, that's sound like a lot of money, but boss man been bumping at us all the time, every day. He ain't never let up. Okay, so is that all for now? You know, the other thing too is, what is the response? Imagine when people see that a good leader is done like that, you know, by his own crew. By his own crew, I mean, you know, and that shows that they don't have no, that shows they don't have no respect for us as a people.